Well, just a little over a week away from Eagles training camp, and you can feel the excitement. So naturally, we got some promising updates around the Birds. Like Nakobe Dean blowing everyone's minds with his rehab, Nolan Smith putting the work in, and Jalen Hurts taking notes from the GOAT. Plus, A.J. Brown issued a request to the fans for this season, and a Week 4 opponent just suffered a significant blow. So let's talk about that, why rookie Andrew Mukuba still hasn't signed his contract, and everything else around Philly. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? First off, I just want to start by saying thank you, because for those people reaching out about the Eagles documentary we dropped over the weekend, the support has been insane. Now, if you're unsure what I'm talking about or might have missed it, I went back through the archives to piece together a full-length Eagles documentary covering all the biggest moments, storylines, and sound bites from the Super Bowl season, which then turned into over an hour of reliving the best moments in franchise history.
Throw the dagger, Hurts going deep for it all, Devonta Smith, he has got it!
I could legit just sit there and watch highlights over and over, like not a surprise, but I'm even more hyped for the season. However, rewinding to last season and rewatching the weeks unfold did remind me just how crazy the doubt was for Jalen Hurts last year. So you'd think after winning a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP, he'd garner, I don't know, maybe a little more respect.
Chances are near zero.
You're right, all they do is doubt that dude. Because if you take a look at just about every national list this offseason, QB1 isn't even being considered in the top 5. Despite, by the way, being one of only 3 active quarterbacks to start at least 2 Super Bowls and the only quarterback drafted since 2018 to win a Super Bowl. Of course, being ranked around 8 or 9 is bad enough, yet believe it or not, SB Nation's Joseph Acosta listed Hurts not even in the top 13.
No, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
That's actually the silver lining. Hurts does look at these things, and he does allow it to fuel him. After all, remember during the Super Bowl when he was asked about the criticism and if he listens to it or uses it as extra motivation.
Some of your offensive teammates say they like it when people doubt you out there because you take your game to the next level. You have talked about having those scars and wearing those scars of doubters in college and the pros. Do you secretly like that extra motivation when people are doubting you for extra fuel?
There's no secret.
Yeah, I can guarantee you in some way, shape, or form, the not being in the top 13 has made its way back to Jalen. And when you take into account with him spending time with Michael Jordan in Greece as these stories have been coming out this week, the rest of the league has another thing coming.
I'm not a world of pain.
Also, just in case you were curious, Acosta had guys like Dallas's Dak Prescott, Green Bay's Jordan Love, Las Vegas's Geno Smith, and Houston's CJ Stroud ranked ahead of QB1. Citing the fact that Hurts was carried thanks to his super team, something head coach Nick Sirianni called bull.
The whole world gone crazy!
Look, it's like Sirianni said, and I think a lot of people get this, Hurts plays the most important position in sports. And yet at the same time, it's the most ultimate team game out there. Like, think about a team that wins and wins consistently. Can anyone seriously argue that there's a coach without good players around him who gets the job done? Or let's phrase it another way. Like the Philly Voices argument, Saquon Barkley won NFL Offensive Player of the Year and was arguably the best player in the NFL. However, he did also benefit tremendously by having the best offensive line in football. Plus, mismatches of A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Hurts as a threat to run played a factor as well. Which is why when you compare Saquon's 2023 numbers to his 2024 Eagles numbers, they're not even in the same ballpark. The hypocrisy of Jalen Hurts haters, though, is that you'll never hear them saying, well, Chuba Hubbard is actually better because he was on a bad Panthers team and put up pretty good numbers, while Saquon had basically a super team.
But they're amateurs.
Like, come on, in that context, it's pretty clear how stupid that argument is. Plus, as we all have heard a number of times, you can't be great without the greatness of others. By the way, a couple more stats to back up Jalen's argument. I shared these on a recent live stream, but take a look at quarterback efficiency over the last 3 years. So here you have completion percentage above expected and EPA per play for quarterbacks who played a minimum of 200 plays. And one more note that this is on the money downs, aka third or fourth down when you're counted on to deliver. For the record, the more to the top and the right you are, the better. And look who's up there by themselves. 3 quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. Or take another metric from PFF where they gathered every team's passer rating when targeting the middle of the field at a depth of 10 to 20 yards. And guess where Jalen Hurts ranks there? 4th. Meanwhile, you got players like Matthew Stafford and Jordan Love who rank 28th and 31st respectively there. So I don't know. You let me know in the comments why you think Jalen Hurts is continually disrespected regardless of what he does. I mean, it's not the first time he's gotten snubbed, nor would it be the first time Philly's dealt with this in general. Since go back to Randall Cunningham's 1990 season when he somehow was robbed of the league MVP. Refresher, but Cunningham threw 30 touchdown passes and ran for 942 yards, which is impressive enough, but it makes it even that much more impressive when you realize that nobody else had 30 touchdown passes and 900 rushing yards in a season for the next 29 years. That is until Lamar Jackson did it in 2019, and yeah, he actually won the MVP award that year. But getting back to Randall, his season took place in 1990, when he didn't have a single receiver with 40 catches. I mean, no offense to the offensive weapons, but the ultimate weapon had to do it all. Yet unfortunately for Eagles fans, Randall finished in second place to Joe Montana by a vote tally of 26-18. Despite Philly's quarterback having more touchdown passes, fewer interceptions, a higher passer rating, and way more rushing yards. Plus, Montana had Jerry Rice, John Taylor, and Brent Jones. Which is funny because I thought having good players was supposed to hurt your argument for MVP. By the way, please hear me out. I'm not putting Jalen Hurts anywhere close to Joe Montana yet, but it's just funny when you look at the stance they take, a little bit of the double standard for how recognition is given out. Oh yeah, let's not forget that Jalen's done this with a new offensive coordinator every single season. Again, either way, QB1's got a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP, as the Birds will be getting those rings during a ring ceremony this Friday night. Of course, while we're looking back at the past season's success, the squad's already turned the page and has their sights set on repeating. Although Sirianni said he's careful about saying the word repeat and rather prefers sustained success, where he shared that defensive backs coach Christian Parker actually gave him a daily wisdom book with a lesson each day. And Sirianni said out of all the ones that stuck out to him, it was the running a marathon depiction of only thinking about the mile in front of you instead of mile 26. Now, first off, it's really cool to get the behind-the-scenes access there, some extra insight on what's going on, but also I think it's a reminder of how special and blessed we are to have Christian Parker back there as defensive backs coach because, as we've said before, it's only a matter of time before he gets a defensive coordinator position or a head coaching job. Anyway, getting back to the sustained success, the Eagles are adamant about changing things up, especially after seeing how predictability led to a complete collapse following their 2023 Super Bowl appearance. Which is why Sirianni said things will be different as the team continues to fine-tune various aspects on the team. And speaking of different, A.J. Brown recently took to social media to ask fans about a celebration or go-to for when he makes a play this year.
Well, I was just thinking because football season is approaching, and I want to get the fans involved. So I'm like, man, what can I do to get the fans involved? And I was just thinking, like, right. So when Coop makes a play, he does a celebration, which is lit, and everybody be like, cool, right? I'm just thinking, what can I say? What can they say for me when I make a play or I make a touchdown, right? 1K, because I thought about Brown, and Brown don't sound right. Brown, like that ain't it, right? So it gotta be like 1K, it gotta be, right? And I'm just thinking like I could even be like 1K, like something, like I'm just trying to get the fans involved, but you all let me know what you think, man. We can come up with something, man. I don't know if this one will stick, but let me know. I'm gonna get the Philadelphia page to post this out and come up with some suggestions, man. So y'all get back to me, man.
By the way, in case you weren't as big a fan for those options, the recommendation of AO seems to have gotten the nod of approval from AJ. So after a big play from Always Open this season, okay, personally, I love that. I think it works really well, but also I'm all for the engagement, some creativity, everything else with the team. Heck, at least we're talking about this rather than some sort of contract dispute. You know, like the Washington Commanders are having to deal with wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who sat out of mandatory minicamp and incurred over $100,000 worth of fines due to being upset about his contract. However, in a more recent update, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported that things may be worse off than a month ago, as the All-Pro receiver fully plans to sit out of training camp until an agreement is made on some sort of extension. Meanwhile, in Dallas, even though Micah Parsons did show up to minicamp, he's left it up to Jerry Jones, so the Cowboys could also be missing one of their best players. Honestly, as bad as the roster management and cap situation is here, I think the bigger issue, or really the bigger message that it sends to those teams, is the locker room, the vibes. You've got some of your best players, you're not paying them, and Philly does it the right way. I don't have to tell you, but another reason Howie Roseman is the GOAT and doesn't leave the best players on the team waiting in limbo. Now, having said that, Reed Blankenship still doesn't have an extension worked out yet, and the latest reports haven't changed any of that. Yet when it comes to being under contract, Philly still needs to sign second-round pick Andrew Mukuba to a deal. But don't worry, there's still plenty of time. We've seen guys like this in the past. We've mentioned it before. Kelee, Ringo, Landon Dickerson, I believe Cam Jurgens even as well, but at least Landon Dickerson and Kelee Ringo took up almost till the last second. Although for those wondering why it's taken so long, shout out to Anthony DeBona, who shared that the issue of delay was created after the first 2 picks in the second round of the 2025 draft received full guaranteed contracts, and that being Texans wide receiver Jaden Higgins and Browns linebacker Carson Swessinger. Because naturally, what that's done is make most agents then request the exact same thing.
Congratulations, you're still my agent.
Like I said, I still wouldn't worry about it. Philly's going to be fine and they're going to get it done. Now, in other news, Nolan Smith has been putting in the work this summer and has been training with Patrick Johnson out in California ahead of training camp, but did go back to Savannah, Georgia to host his free Pups Day Out football camp. As always, thank you to everyone who donated to his camp because those donations help pay for supplies and backpacks for campers to receive before they return to school. And also on the topic of supplies, my guy Nolan has a new supply drop of merch on his site. And if you want to pick up one of those, then just go to the link in the description to get the latest designs. Or I'm going to give away a couple of shirts as well, so all you need to do if you want to have a chance at that is drop a like on this video and then go comment something in the comment section. Come on, hit that like button because we're all supporting these Philly dogs. Just like Caesar, who won the signed Nolan Smith jersey a few weeks ago and is getting that thing framed for his man cave. By the way, if you want another piece of Philly Dogs merch, then just hit that subscribe button because I'm going to be giving this helmet away to one lucky subscriber. And you see here, we got Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis. So just subscribe. Of course, mentioning Nakobe, how can you not be hyped for the linebackers rehab this offseason? After the 24-year-old posted a video to his Instagram doing box step-ups and what appears to be either 315 or 325 pounds on his back. And yes, in case you weren't sure, it was his left knee that he injured, so to be doing that at just 7 months post-injury is crazy impressive. Look, when we visited the NovaCare complex around OTAs, I wasn't sure about Dean's claim to be back on the field at some point in training camp. But after that video, plus the other workouts and improvements he's shown, I'm not counting out any sort of advanced timeline. I mean, either way, it's just great to see Dean out there moving like that. However, the good news for the Birds may not just be with their own injuries, as the game in Tampa on September 28th appears to have gotten a little easier after the Buccaneers announced that All-Pro left tackle Tristan Wirfs will very likely start the year on the physically unable to perform list after undergoing a knee scope. FYI, going on the PUP list means a player automatically misses 4 games before they can come back, which means the Eagles would be one of those games he'd miss. And considering in his last 3 games against the Eagles, Wirfs has played 127 pass blocking snaps and not allowed a single pressure, let alone a sack, that's a pretty big relief for Philly. So you'd think that could mean a pretty advantageous opportunity for guys like Nolan Smith, Jalyx Hunt, Josh Uche, and Azeez Ojulari to capitalize on a backup tackle. Granted, we're ways from there, and the Eagles could very well be dealing with their own share of injuries by then, but at least one bit of news that will no doubt change the Week 4 matchup. All right, you guys let me know how you think it impacts our visit to Tampa. Also, reminder, go check out the documentary if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Stay tuned to some other exciting things planned. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.